Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the iPhone 4S. It was released back in 2011. The iPhone 4S was announced a day prior to Steve Jobs' death on the 4th of October 2011. The iPhone 4S was one of Apple's most important iPhones. This was the first ever iPhone to ship with iCloud. The Siri made its debut on this iPhone. The S in the iPhone 4S stands for speed, or maybe Siri. The iPhone 4S is still one of my favorite iPhones of all time. The first thing you guys will notice is just how small this display is. This display is tiny. It is very small by today's standard. It has got 3.5-inch display with a resolution of 960 by 640 pixels. The display is vibrant and is bright enough. The viewing angles are also great. The display is still more than usable if one can ignore the fact that it's really small. It's a gorgeous phone even by today's standards. When iPhone 4S was launched, it came with iOS 5. Now it is running on iOS 9. The phone feels a bit sluggish to use, but for basic things like calls or texts, it does the job. The iOS 9 literally slowed this thing down like crazy. The older versions of apps still work on this phone, however they run quite slow. You can go into your purchase history and can re-download the apps. Most social media apps like Facebook and Instagram will work. Opening system apps is decently fast and they work without an issue. The iPhone 4S gets an Apple A5 chip and half a gig of RAM. This is the last iPhone to use the 30-pin connector. The iOS 9 really pushes this phone, however, it is actually possible to downgrade it back to iOS 6. It was offered in 4 storage options being 8, 16, 32, and 64 GB. Performance-wise, the phone is still good for basic tasks. You can also use it to listen to music as an iPod. The iPhone 4S still runs perfectly fine thanks to Apple integration between hardware and software. This is a phone that can be used with one hand and is very comfortable to hold. The buttons and physical mute switch have a great tactile feel. It feels very good to hold with glass on the back and front and aluminum covering the sides. This was one of the last iPhones to use glass back until the iPhone X came out in 2017. The iPhone 4S still feels like a very premium phone. The design of this phone holds up well even today. Heading on to the camera, the iPhone 4S features an 8-megapixel camera. You can still take good photos in favorable lighting conditions. The images are fine and the dynamic range is also pretty good. Back in 2011, the iPhone 4S has one of the best cameras in any smartphone of all times. For being 11 years old, it is still not that bad. It still takes decently clear images. The back camera can record videos in full HD quality at 30 frames per second. It records video with digital image stabilization. It has panorama, live filters, and HDR mode as well. The front-facing camera only has a resolution of 640 by 480 pixels. Moving on to the battery, it has got a 1432 mAh battery and the battery life is not that great. I get about 4 hours of the screen of time. The iPhone 4S was never managed to make it through a full day of use. I had to carry on a battery pack with me to make sure that this wouldn't die in the middle of the day. On the top of the device, we see the power button alongside the headphone jack. On the left side we have the silent switch and volume controls. On the bottom, we see the speaker, 30-pin dock connector and microphone, and the SIM card tray is located on the right side. This phone is made out of an aluminum chassis. It looks very elegant and has a glass back. The iPhone 4S doesn't support 4G networks, it only supports 3G. If you wanted to pick this phone up, you could get one off of eBay for about $25. You guys can still pick up an iPhone 4S for media consumption. The problem with getting and using an iPhone 4S is that a lot of the apps are unsupported on iOS 9. It's not a phone you should consider buying as a daily driver. I've got tons of old phones, so I will make some other videos like this in the near future. In the end, hit that subscribe button and thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.